Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, did I hear correctly earlier you mentioned that when you were making the decision to release the 5 members of the Taliban, that you did not take into consideration whether or not they would return to the field of battle?
No, I didn't say that.
So
we
you
took
did...
that into consideration. We took everything into consideration, yes.
And was your assessment the best assessment from the people who advised you? Was that assessment that they would or would not return to the field of battle?
The assessment was, first, we looked at the threat, whether they would or not. We can't predict.
You can make an assessment, and I'm sure somebody gave you an assessment.
I'll read you what I just read this committee a little bit ago, and I don't think you were here, on the latest intelligence community assessment on the threats. I asked for this from General Clapper. This is the most recent intelligence community assessment. Threat if returned to Afghanistan and Pakistan after the 1 year in Qatar. It says, should they return and reintegrate with the Taliban, their focus would almost certainly be on Taliban efforts inside Afghanistan, not a threat to the homeland.
Will we have troops in Afghanistan at that time?
Well, this 12 months from May 31st, so yes, we'll have troops.
So they would pose a threat to American troops.
Well, let me finish this.
Hold on, let me move to Mr. Preston. I've only got 3 minutes left.
Well, I'm giving you what if you want information, I'm giving you what the IC says to answer your question.
I understand that. I think I got the answer I was looking for.
Well,
Mr. Preston, my understanding, I'm a Navy pilot. I flew combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. My understanding is that there are really 2 types of law. There's a law of war, a law of armed conflict, if you will, which is international law, and then there's a law of peace, which is how we handle things domestically. And under the law of war, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't detain people for rehabilitation, and we don't detain people for purposes of, punishing them. We detain them to keep them off the field of battle. Is that correct, under the laws of international conflict?
As I understand it, when they are held under those laws, it's for that purpose.
It is to keep them off the field of battle. So if there is a judgment that there is a chance that these folks could go back into the field of battle, and we still have an authorization for use of military force indicating that we still are at war, the judgment, whether these people are going to go back and harm our troops, is pretty important. Is that correct?
The way I would answer that is to say that it is clear that we have the authority to detain these people. The judgment to transfer them to the custody of another country is one that is governed in substantial measure by the NDAA provision and a judgment by the President.
I might just add, Congressman, in the second sentence of this intelligence community report, to answer your question, it says, a few new Taliban leaders, these 5, if they would return to the Taliban in Afghanistan, no matter how senior, will not appreciably change the threat to American forces, the Afghan people, or the Afghan army.
Is that in a physical sense or in a morale sense? Because if you look at what the Taliban's putting out right now, they're declaring victory on this. Are you aware of this?
Well, I'm aware of a lot of what the Taliban says.
We
can't control what the Taliban says.
By releasing, yes, you can, because you didn't have to release these 5 people. And by releasing them, you have created, in essence, a victory for the Taliban. It is being used as propaganda against this country. And ultimately, I think you are aware that these people are likely to return to the field of battle, and our troops are going to be in harm's way because of it.
Congressman, I just gave you the best intelligence community assessment we have, what they say about that. This is an imperfect business. If we want our prisoner of war back, we have to make some accommodations to that. We did it with a substantial mitigation of risk. We thought this was the smartest, wisest, most responsible thing that we could do to protect our people, get our prisoner back.
And the Taliban feels the same way.
There's nothing I can do about that. They're going to be predictable, I suspect, and try to use this. But you ask whether that's physical or is it a morale boost. Well, I think the first thing we ought to look at is this a physical threat that they represent? And you just heard what the...
the morale boost turns into a physical threat. I think we have to understand.
It's an imperfect world, Congressman, and you know that.